Hi guys, welcome back. In this video we're going to look at the other two features of the HSL panel here. We looked at HSL proper here. Next we're going to deal with color and then black and white. So if we go to color, you can see this is actually really similar to what we had here in the HSL box. We've got all of the same color channels available to us, and we have these same tools at our disposal. We can change the hue, the saturation, and the luminance. So there's not a whole lot of difference between the color and the HSL section. One thing you'll notice, HSL has the targeted adjustment tool, whereas the color panel does not. So that might be something, if you're like me and you like using the targeted adjustment tool, then this might not be for you. But when you have colors that are pretty discreetly separated from each other, or you have a pretty good idea of which channel it is that needs changing, then this might be where you'd like to do it. So you can click up here through each channel by itself, or you can click all and drop them all down, just like we can do here in HSL, where we can have everything available at once. But again, I think that's a little bit messy to have all that stuff that you've got to scroll back and forth between. So that is the color section here. Pretty straightforward. Black and white. As soon as you click here, it automatically converts it to a grayscale image. But because this was recorded, this was a colored digital photo, it was recorded with all of this color information here. Even though it's black and white, we can still change these values here. And as you'll see, we still have the color channels, but we don't have hue, saturation, and luminance anymore, because really there's only one thing left that we can do with this color information, and that's change the brightness of it. So essentially, when you turn it to black and white, you're taking away the ability to do anything to the hue or the saturation, and all you have left is luminance. So, but as you can see, we still have our targeted adjustment tool, which is really handy, because once you take away the color information from our preview here, it gets a little harder to know, should I adjust the red channel or the green channel or the blue channel. You want to be able to just click and say, I want this area, or this area, or this area, or this area, or this area. So let's click on the target adjustment tool, and let's say I want to make the court darker. So I click and hold, and then I drag it down, and I've just made the court significantly darker. And you can see, because the trees were green, it's taken some of our shadow information with it. It's starting to clip. So those areas got pretty dark. Let's drag it back up. Could also go the other way and make it look really bright and hot. I actually kind of like it right down in here. And same, we can take the sky, we can brighten the sky, we could kind of blow it out, or we could drop it down really dark. And you have to be careful. You can see there's some other things that go with it. So there's our sky. We can take her shirt. As you recall, there's some commonality between the colors in here. They both share some red, so if I change the brightness of her shirt, his is going to go with it to some extent. Could also make it go brighter. Take his shorts, make those darker, and you can see there's must be a little bit of blue in them. There's blue and purple. I see those sliders moving. We can change the brightness of their skin tones. And you can see, because this gentleman and her skin tones are, I guess, more on the fair skin side, they're probably have more of this color and this color in them. When we try to change the luminance of those, you can see his clothes go with it. We could also brighten him a little bit or darken him. But you can see how this can be a quick and powerful way to take a grayscale image and really dial it in. Um, in the traditional black and white darkroom, you would, over the years, develop your own recipe book of different paper and developer combinations and chemicals that you tone your prints in to get different looks out of them. You'd use different contrast filters. And we can basically do a lot of that stuff just right here in this black and white module. What would have taken us hours in the darkroom, we can do really quickly, so quickly that it almost feels like cheating. So for those of you with black and white darkroom experience, you know what I'm talking about. You might spend, an hour or 2 hours trying to get one print dialed in, and it's a lot of fun. I actually really enjoy it a lot, but these tools are so easy and so quick, you really take it for granted pretty quickly. So as I said, these tools allow you to really quickly alter the relationships of the colors in your image to provide different levels of light and dark in your image, and really fine tune it. I would say you should pretty much never just take an image and convert it to just make it a grayscale by desaturating it. If you just go up here and take away, so you can see right now it's not an option because we're in black and white, but if we went here, brought back our color, and we did it like this by just desaturating the whole image, you really don't, it doesn't look bad. Actually, I think it looks pretty good right now. But the darkness of this value here compared to this one, compared to their skin tones and the court, all these things are basically locked in. You can't change those at all the way you can down here. And especially in conjunction with the targeted adjustment tool, you really have a lot of options at your disposal. You could get so many different kinds of looks out of the same image. As you can see, there's an auto button here. I don't recommend this any more than I recommend shooting an auto on your camera, because in this case you'll probably get a fine looking image, but you're not the one who made the decisions about how this black and white image should look or feel. Lightroom's doing that for you. I think when we start using these things at some point, you might as well go back to shooting with a cell phone and using Instagram filters. You're not taking this class so that you can just find where the auto buttons are at. At least I don't think. One more thing I'd like to show you really quick. If you recall from our discussion of sharpening and noise reduction, if you recall, with images that are really noisy and the ones that present problems for dealing with your detail, if you recall, one of the ways that we tried to hide some of that noise in our, we had, the example image was of an abandoned house that had a lot of fine detail in the wood grain that we were trying to preserve, but it was also very noisy. So we got rid of as much noise as we could, but we couldn't take it very far because we wanted to keep the wood grain. And so as you recall, our solution, or one solution that we had, was to convert it to black and white and add some grain. So let's just go in here right now, and let's zoom in a little further. Let's say, oh, how about 2:1? Get in a little closer. You can see there's a little shadow clipping there in his hair. Let's turn that off. And right now we have a nice, sharp, clean black and white image, but we can add some grain. Let's turn it up all the way. That's really grainy. I'd say that's kind of sloppy grain, but let's turn it all the way up so we can see, make it really obvious. And that is really we can make these grains really big and sloppy. We can make our grain structure a lot tighter. And you can see we actually are getting some highlight issues in here because some of these grains are adding some contrast in here. So that's just a little interesting tidbit there for you. Let's turn that off for now, actually. So we can have really fine grain structure. We can make them sort of more randomized, and here you can see they start to get a little, again, tighter and a little smoother. So I kind of prefer something like this. I don't want it too exaggerated, so I bring these down here and then back off on the amount. We could maybe make this a little bit more rough because it's such a fine grain. And let's zoom in closer just so we can see. And there's 3 to 1. So you can see it actually does some nice things on his skin tone and on the texture of the fabric. We turn it up a little bit more. We could maybe imagine that we're dealing with Tri-X 400 that's been push processed a little bit to accentuate the grain. If we turn it up a little further, maybe we're looking at Tri-X 3200 or Ilford 3200. But again, those are more of a taste, kind of a subjective thing. The size and the amount and the roughness of the grain that you put on here is also going to depend on what you're going to do with the image. As you can see right here at this size on my screen, we don't really see it. We zoom in, we can see it. But this is a level that you would really never zoom into if these are just being displayed on social media or on a website. You're never going to zoom into this level. But if we were making prints of these, the size of the print would really determine how much we can see this grain and whether it's too much or not. If I made the grain really big and noticeable at this size on my display, and then I made a large mural size print of it, that grain is probably going to look like it's too much. But if I have a really subtle fine grain, it might look pretty nice printed at that size. So those are the kinds of things that you really need to test and know what your final destination is going to be. But I just wanted to show that that's one option when you're dealing with black and white. That's something that you could do. Let's tone that down a bit. That looks better. And that brings us to the end of our overview of the HSL color and black and white panels here. If you have any questions, again, feel free to email me or post in the tech support forum. See you next time.